Hey, I'm not really one for personal life updates or really just posting randomly out of nowhere without making a whole production out of it. But I just wanted to let you know that you're not alone today. And sometimes when we're feeling really stuck and really low, it's hard to see that. It's hard to see that we're not as isolated as we feel. We're not as cut off from our guidance or our friends or our happiness or our joy as our external reality would like to make us feel or wants us to think. And sometimes it's just one conversation that can shift everything. It's one piece of guidance. It's one small kindness that you witness that can change everything. Don't give up on the little things. Don't give up on the little moments, okay? It's those small reminders that are meant to pull you back to here and now, where you can choose how you want to perceive. And I know that's so much easier said than done. And darkness doesn't always go away with a snap of a finger, but it can. More often, it's like the sun that rises. It can take hours from first light. Days even. So this is just a midnight reminder, a midnight check-in, letting you know that you're not alone. Maybe I'm talking to one of you, maybe I'm talking to a few of you, or maybe I'm just rambling to myself so I can go back and listen to this at some other point and remember that all it takes is one small thing to be open to reconnecting to life, to reconnecting to joy again. We get so serious on this path of healing. And I know I have a tendency to take it way too seriously, take things way too seriously, and forget how to lighten up, forget how to have fun. But that's your reminder today. Do something that makes you feel silly. Get out of that energy, get out of that frame of mind, try something different. Yeah. Just, what's the worst that could happen? You feel ridiculous and nothing changes. The worst that could happen is that nothing changes if you try something new. But you don't know unless you try. I feel like my tribe is a bunch of deep healers, yes, and also deep feelers. Because I know when I go into the pits of darkness, the pits of sadness and heartbreak, it's unbearable. And that's deep, very deeply seated. And I guess if it wasn't for all that pain, all that time spent breaking and being broken and just sitting with that, I wouldn't get to see more of myself, more of what makes me me, what was really mine to begin with, and what I can let go of. So maybe you're feeling stuck as all of these new energies are coming in. You can feel them, your body's changing, your energetic signature is changing, the way you're experiencing your reality is shifting, but nothing's changing yet. In the physical, in the 3D, it all still looks the same. And I'm telling you, it's because these changes are coming, but the energy must always shift first in order for these changes to occur. The energetic shift, that's the 5s. The 6, 7, and 8 are all preparation and transformation of the 3D in order to receive that abundance, that new payoff of that lesson, of that job, of that relationship, that reward. It's coming. I know it doesn't seem like it, I know it doesn't look like it, and I know at times it hardly feels like it, but change is coming. I mean, if there's one thing that we can rely on in the material world, it's that things change. For better or for worse, who knows? But it's for something. It's for something. Yeah. That's me trying to get myself to agree with what I'm channeling. Let me agree with that. So, you're not alone. As we move through these destabilizing shifts in our consciousness, our perceptions, in our energy bodies, and even in our life, in our relationships, you're not alone. There are certain things that we go through on our own, but we are not alone. And sometimes we go through seasons where we are removed from community, removed from relationships, removed from friendships, and we can feel pretty isolated. And that's for a few reasons. It's partially our protection. It's partially needing to learn the lesson. And it's also part of a recalibration. Because, see, our manifestations, our desires, our dreams, our goals rely on more than just our own action. I mean, we can only do so much. We only have control over so much. And those things that you've been praying for, God's getting them prepared for you. That dream career, your podium is being prepared, your audience is being prepared. Your customers are being prepared. Your students are being prepared. Those who receive and need to receive what it is you have to offer, they're being prepared right now as we speak. As you listen to this. So much is a matter of timing, because there's so many moving parts to things. that dream spouse that you've been praying for, longing for, they're being prepared. As you listen to this, as you speak. Because remember, when we tend to get so rabbit holed in our own perspective, oh my gosh, I hope you can't hear my stomach rumbling through this. As you're being prepared, as you're moving through all of these energetic shifts, things around you, people around you, the earth around you is also shifting. And there's so many moving parts here that have to be coordinated. It's like a symphony, right? Everyone has to tune their instruments. The vocalists have to warm up their voices. You've got to dress the part, you've got to look the part. Everyone has to learn the music. Everything has to be prepared. There's so many moving pieces that go into it. And we're all part of this symphony, right? We're all part of this masterpiece, this production, this show. And as such, we each have our part to play. And all of our parts rely on everyone else's parts too. Even the parts of our lives, the phases, the missions that are on our own. We all have our role to play. And trust that as you are being prepared for what you're about to step into, so are your future coworkers, your future clients, your future audience, your future partners, your future friends, your future community, your future spouse, whatever it is, whoever it is that you've been looking for, whoever you've been desiring. They're being prepared just the same as you are. And for all you psychics, it's an extra layer of difficult, right? It's an extra layer of difficult because you're seeing and communicating with the higher selves of a lot of these people you're connecting with. And those of us, and those of you who have taken up this journey of accelerated ascension have worked really, really hard to find alignment between your higher self and your 3D self, right? And so, I wasn't going to say it, but I guess I'm going to say it. In my experience and in the twin flame connections that I've observed, it's so often that the feminine gets frustrated with the masculine because the masculine is with the feminine in the version of their higher self, but then connecting with the 3D version of the masculine is a completely different experience. And the feminine gets frustrated because the feminine wants to see the masculine reconcile the two the way the feminine has worked so hard to do. Now, I'm not saying the feminines have done this expertly or perfectly. Though we can say the feminines have, it's commonly seen that the feminines are more attuned and more awakened in their higher chakras. So they're perceiving at higher levels than the masculine. And the masculine unconsciously is perceiving the amount of integration that the feminine has done. And I suppose that's intimidating for the masculine. The feminines have undergone so many deaths and rebirths, countless deaths and rebirths, deaths and rebirths, deaths and rebirths, just like this infinite loop, this never-ending cycle of death and rebirth. How many times in this one life to close out karma, to close out timelines, to close out separation, to close out the original separation between the counterparts. And so when the masculine feels the feminine pulling away, the masculine must understand it's because the feminine has been working so hard that all the feminine wishes is that the masculine would step into the work the way the feminine has. And of course, that's not going to be for everyone, right? Well, obviously one, but the feminine has a steadier incline at which generally they ascend. And for the masculine, it's seen as very deep, abrupt, profoundly life and ego shattering transformations that somehow everything seems to crumble in an instant, like a bucket of cold water over the head. And suddenly all of the illusions are just gone. You can't unsee these things that you're seeing, and so the mind of the masculine is taking its time to process, probably undergoing serious or even severe ascension symptoms with these shifts, as the feminine has yet to slow down. The feminine has yet to slow down. The feminine has said, I'm not waiting around for you anymore. Do the work, step up, or surrender. Let the feminine go. And of course, neither counterpart really wants that. It's only fear. It's only fear. What's that song, Alexei Murdoch? It's only fear. It's only fear that keeps you locked in here. It's only fear that makes you do the same things over and over and over and over again, no matter how hard you wish for something new to come as a result of doing these same things again. It's only fear that tells you that what you desire, you can't have. It's only fear that tells you you're not worthy of the life you desire, of a life you love. It's only fear that tells you that the person you feel in your heart was made for you doesn't exist or will reject you. It's only fear that says that. Remember, fear is a template. It's a frequency that we can neither tune into or tune out of. And this is why the energetically sensitive must be so particular to the media they consume, and most especially, and when I say media, I mean like books you're reading, of course, magazines, newspapers, news, whatever. And I mean TV shows, movies, and most especially music, because music has a hypnotic effect on the body and the mind. So the messages, the subliminal messages of these songs go deeper into the mind and the body, and the nervous system has to work harder to recalibrate. I'll never forget. I don't know why I'm sharing this. I'll never forget when I first got onto the spiritual journey, when I first, woke up, if you will. I was studying music. I was in music school undergrad, studying opera. And frankly, I don't know why I studied opera. I didn't dislike it. It just wasn't where my passion was. I wish I had applied or auditioned as a jazz major. That would have been more fulfilling. But I had to go the wrong way to learn which way was the right way, yeah. I'll never forget, I felt like I'd reached the end of the line there. Like, of that path, I'd gone as far as I could go. Like, there wasn't anything for me to do that would help me find, as an opera singer, as a performer in that realm, what it is that would fulfill me or feed my soul. It wasn't there. I didn't know where it was. I didn't even know what I was looking for. I just knew that whatever I was doing, everything in that moment just had to go. And I'll never forget, one day, it was like I woke up out of a dream. I literally snapped out of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to do this anymore. My entire life, I've been living up to other people's expectations of me. Oh my God, you guys, I'm going to cry because I know exactly who needs to hear this right now. I know you need to hear this right now. I know you need to hear this right now. It's like an aha moment. It just dawns on you like a flip of a switch. You just wake up and realize you've been living up to others' expectations of you, thinking that it would make you happy. Thinking it would make you happy to see others happy at the version at becoming the version of you that they wanted you to be. You think it would make you happy, that they know what's best for you. And that's the fear. The fear forces us to outsource our happiness, outsource our sovereignty, outsource our intuition, outsource our inner knowing, outsource our inner voice of God, our inner voice of the divine. I left music school that week. Everyone thought I was crazy, and yeah, I was very, very, very depressed, like clinically. But I'll never forget, I stopped listening to music. Julia Rose, the musician, her whole life, the singer, her whole life, stops listening to music for years. I just couldn't. And it felt like something in me broke. And it did. In a way, I felt broken, but it wasn't really me. It was the false idea of who I was that was crumbling. And probably a self-construct that I'd had for lifetimes. This is the only way I'd ever known myself. I know for you artists and creators out there, this is most definitely, you can relate to this. Like sometimes you just have to walk away completely because you need a new perspective. You'd put all of your experiences in that perspective on your medium, and you weren't satisfied. however you're creating, whatever you're creating, you weren't satisfied because it's like you had nothing left to say there. You'd explored all that was in that expression of yourself. And that's why the ego death comes. That's why the ego death comes. Because we're being reminded that we've become too attached to being a certain way, to being a specific version of ourselves. And it's not to say that we can't return to these things. It's just that there's so much potential that lies in new paths for us to learn and love more deeply, to realize more of the truth, more of who we are, more of the reality of the divine. That can only come if you're open to it. That can only come to you. These new opportunities, these new friends, these new realizations can only come to you if you make room for it. You have to make room. And if you don't make room, God will make room for you. God answers to your soul, not to your ego. In God's own timing, God responds to the cries of your soul, the cries of your spirit. So, it's okay to let go. Gosh, I'm gonna cry for you guys. Again, it's okay to let go of everything you thought you knew. It's okay to let go of everything you thought you wanted. It's okay to let go of everything you've achieved, everything you've failed at. Because in another life, it probably won't matter anyway. The real question is, do you really want to set your heart free? Do you really want to love and be loved by life? By those you invite into your life? I'll say it again. God, the divine, responds to the cries of your soul. And sometimes we're in touch with those cries, those desires, those yearnings. And we call out for those things, those people, those energies. And God always knows what to give us. God always knows what we need. I want to see if there's one more message that the guides have. They're saying that's all, but I'd like to ask for something that's A final message that would be of the highest service to you all. All I'm hearing is stay in love. Even when it's hard and it's complicated and it doesn't make sense and it's messy and it hurts and it defies logic. Stay with the knowing of your spirit. Stay with the knowing of your heart. Because God is love. And the fulfillment of your spirit is in love. Okay. I love you all. And I'll see you in the next one. Well, maybe you'll actually see me in the next one. This is so spontaneous. All right. I'll see you all. Blessings.